Hey, Michelle, how's it going?
Hi, Aubrey. Everything is going well. How are you?
I am great and I am excited for this listening part 3 practice. We are going to share details about this section of the exam, along with strategies and then real IELTS practice. Completing practice like this is really the best way to prepare for the IELTS listening exam. And sometimes there's a limited amount of practice online, or you're not sure who wrote it, if you can trust that it's good IELTS practice. So here we're providing practice that you know is the best way to prepare for listening part 3.
Absolutely. This is going to be great, guys. So let's hear the episode now.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing well, Aubrey. I'm so happy that I am hanging out with you on IELTS today. How are you?
I'm excited to have you here on IELTS. Listeners, if you guys listen to All Ears English, you're very familiar with Michelle's voice as a co-host of that podcast or Business English. But if not, you may be unfamiliar. So Michelle is one of the All Ears English team. We're excited to have her here. Lindsay is on vacation this week, so Michelle's filling in.
I'm filling in and I'm excited about it, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and we are providing you with listening part 3 practice today. So if you're feeling like you need more practice, which I know all of you are, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to get listening part 3 practice, which often is the hardest section of the listening exam. We'll talk about why in just a moment. But our content here is about art festivals. Michelle, do you ever go to art festivals?
I do go kind of, I don't know if it counts, but like street festivals where there is art.
Crafts, like arts and
Does that count?
crafts or
Yeah, like a craft festival.
Yeah.
I love those are
absolutely.
Oh my God, I
know.
love a good craft festival. What about
I
you?
do too, right? With homemade food and wares
So much
and
fun.
soaps and all the kinds of fun stuff. And art festivals too. I worked at many of them with my father, who's an oil painter, would set up the white tent and the walls and hang the paintings. And so I have been to many an art festival.
Many.
But yes, this is going to be good. This part 3 practice is about an art festival. And
Excellent.
Michelle, why is listening part 3 one of the hardest sections of the IELTS listening exam for many students?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for one, there's multiple speakers. So 2 to 4 speakers. So that can be really tough to track the different voices.
Exactly. For a lot of listening, it's a monologue. It's one person speaking. But here there are multiple voices, and IELTS will expect you to be able to keep track of who is who. You'll have to choose the name of who said what, and that is difficult to do.
Yeah. And also, it's usually it's an academic conversation. So it's a little bit more dry. It's not quite as entertaining.
Exactly. It's going to be something that you might hear in a college class or lecture. It's not going to be a super fun, engaging conversation. So you'll have to listen closely, keep yourself from getting too bored and letting your mind wander. And you'll also be asked to identify specific facts, opinions, attitudes that are said in this exchange between speakers. So it's not just tracking, what is said, but who said what. That's very tricky.
Yeah, that is tough. And so common question types for this include multiple choice, completion, so notes, tables, flowcharts, and matching.
Exactly. So what we're providing today are multiple choice questions, but there could be fill in the blank, table completion. As you know, you're all familiar with these, and the same strategies will apply no matter the activity. Rarely are the exact words in the questions heard in the audio. So you need to listen for synonyms, paraphrases in order to get these answers correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about some strategies to use. So of course, identify key words, right? So read the questions first and underline or highlight the key words, right? So these are words that will definitely be in the audio, though there likely will appear as synonyms or in a paraphrase, as Aubrey mentioned.
Exactly. And then after identifying keywords, you're also going to try and make predictions. Now, this is more for table completion. If you're listening for a specific word, you might be predicting if it's a name, a date, a noun, or a verb. But also with multiple choice questions, you're going to see the possible answers. So you can make predictions. Okay, this is where they're going to be talking about the venue or the price. You have some information there, so you'll be able to make some quick predictions about what you'll hear in the audio.
Definitely.
All right, so let's dive in with this listening part 3. You will hear on the audio a little bit of context. They would say, 2 colleagues, Aubrey and Michelle, are discussing the upcoming Community Arts Festival and the roles of key team members. And then you're going to hear a dialogue between 2 or more people, 2 to 4 people. So we'll go ahead and provide that dialogue here. But what you will do first is hopefully you can come back to the blog, allearsenglish.com, read through the questions, and then you're going to listen. So let's actually read through the questions here, Michelle, so that anyone just listening will be able to hear the questions first. You would have 30 seconds to read through those questions before you hear the audio. So what is our first question, Michelle?
Okay, so the first question is, what is Hannah responsible for during the festival? And the options are A, logistics, B, publicity, or C, volunteer training.
Yeah, number 2 is, why was David chosen to manage logistics? And you have A, he volunteered for the role, B, he has relevant past experience, or C, he works near the venue.
And number 3 is, which of the following will Clara be doing? Is it A, writing press releases, B, organizing volunteers, or C, managing equipment?
And lastly, number 4, who will arrange for payment? A, Michelle, B, Aubrey, or C, Clara? All right, let's dive in with our audio here. Ready, Michelle?
I'm ready.
So, Michelle, have you finalized the list of team members for the Community Arts Festival?
Yes, I have. Let's go over the main roles to make sure everything's covered.
Great. Let's start with Hannah. Is she still handling logistics?
Actually, no. She's moved over to marketing this year. She'll be managing the social media campaign, press releases, and also coordinating with local radio stations.
That's a better fit for her, honestly. Who's doing logistics now?
That's been given to David. He was in charge of last year's food festival, so he'll be organizing the venue setup, transportation, and equipment rental.
Perfect. And what about Clara? Is she back on the volunteer team?
Yes, and she's leading it this time. She'll be recruiting and training all the festival volunteers, plus managing the schedule on the day of the event.
Sounds like everyone's well placed. Payment is due next week. I was going to ask Clara to take care of that, but would you mind doing it?
Will do.
All right, awesome. So that is your audio for these questions. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and walk through how you would find these correct answers. All right, Michelle, we are back and we would see the instructions, choose the correct letter A, B, or C. So let's go through these. That first question was, what is Hannah responsible for during the festival? And this is a little bit tricky. You had the options logistics, publicity, and volunteer training. And you likely heard the word logistics right after her name. So this is a trap that IELTS will do. You hear, let's start with Hannah. You start listening for the answer. You hear logistics. But if you stop listening, you're not paying attention to the context, you would get this question wrong.
Oh, right. So it was A, logistics, B, publicity, or C, a volunteer training. So should we give the answer?
Yeah, because then right after we said, is she handling logistics? Actually, no, she's moved over to marketing this year. This is also tricky. Publicity is a synonym for marketing. You also saw here she'll be managing the social media campaign, press releases, coordinating with local radio stations. That's all publicity for the event.
Exactly. So, yep, the answer is B, publicity. So number 2, let's move on to that. So that was, why was David chosen to manage logistics? And it was A, he volunteered for the role, B, he has relevant past experience, or C, he works near the venue. What do we think, Aubrey?
Yeah, so you saw these keywords, you heard these keywords, who's doing logistics now? That's been given to David. So then you would want to start listening. Okay, why? We're looking for why was he chosen to manage logistics? And the answers are usually near the keywords, so it's probably going to come right away. And they said he was in charge of last year's food festival. So this is a paraphrase for he has relevant past experience. The other thing that's helpful here is you don't hear anything in the audio about these other two. Him volunteering for the role or working near the venue is not mentioned at all. So though this is a little bit of a difficult paraphrase, it is helpful a little bit that these other two aren't in the audio.
Right, exactly. That makes sense.
Yes.
So Aubrey, what was number 3, the question?
Right, number 3, which of the following will Clara be doing? A, writing press releases, B, organizing volunteers, or C, managing equipment?
Okay, yeah. So you said, if you go back to the audio, you said, and what about Clara? Is she back on the volunteer team? And I said, yes, and she's leading at this time. So you could say here, so leading and organizing, right, are very synonymous in this situation. So organizing volunteers, B is the answer.
Exactly. Yes. And as you can see, a lot of paraphrases, synonyms, you've got the keywords, but you're not often listening for that exact word. You're usually listening for another way to say that or phrase it. All right. Number 4, who will arrange for payment? Was it A, Michelle, B, Aubrey, or C, Clara?
Yeah, this was interesting because actually the answer is A, Michelle. This is another IELTS trap, Aubrey, because my name is not mentioned again at the end of the audio when this question is answered, right? So you have to track the speakers so you know who says what.
Exactly. You only hear Michelle's name in the instructions. 2 colleagues, Aubrey and Michelle, are discussing this festival. And then right at the beginning, I say, so Michelle, have you finalized the list of team members? And then the onus is on you to recognize that the next speaker is Michelle because her name isn't mentioned again. And then at the end, you find out she's the one making the payment. So this is difficult. This is a common IELTS trap. You have to track the speakers, make quick notes with their names, anything that helps you keep track of who is doing what, saying what, and recognize that the names aren't always the keywords. When you hear Michelle's name at the very top, that doesn't mean the answer about her is going to be right then.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so don't let that trip you up.
Yes, and we want to share a recent episode where we also provided some IELTS listening practice, but for part 2, episode 1519. Scroll up if you missed it. Avoid IELTS traps with this listening part 2 practice. We dove more into a lot of the common pitfalls, the tricks and traps that test writers use to trick you on listening part 2. We shared a couple today as well. And if you missed that one, definitely hit follow right here on IELTS Energy. You're probably missing some amazing strategies, listening, reading practice. We go into everything here on IELTS Energy.
Yeah. So guys, for today, just remember that listening part 3 can be pretty difficult because there are multiple speakers to track. But practice using these strategies that we taught you today so that you can answer these questions correctly, and definitely look out for those traps.
Absolutely. The more practice you do, the more confident you'll be on test day that you can get all of these answers correct and boost your IELTS scores. Thanks for joining me today, Michelle.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yes, awesome.
And guys, we hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon.
Next time. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, how did you do? How many did you get correct? We are so excited for you to have these strategies. This will help you know what to do before the audio starts, what you should be doing while the audio plays, and after the audio stops. All of that, if you aren't aware of how that should work on test day, then it's a little bit of guesswork. So I'm excited now that you know all of this and you're ready on test day.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, use these strategies on your listening practice exams to boost both your confidence on test day and your scores. So that's going to be great. So guys, be sure to hit follow so you don't miss the final episode of this series with practice for listening part 4.
Yes, awesome. I will see you there, Michelle, and we'll see you guys there.
All right. Bye guys.